ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaste, my dear friends. Today I am going to talk about the most significant goddess in Hinduism, Ma Kali. Ma Kali is the goddess of Shakti. Kali comes from the Sanskrit root word kal, which means time. There is nothing that escapes the all-consuming march of time. In Tibetan Buddhism, her counterpart is male with the name Kala. Mother Kali is the most misunderstood of the Hindu goddesses. It is partly correct to say Kali is the goddess of death, but she brings the death of the ego as the illusory, self-centered view of reality. Nowhere in the Hindu stories is she seen killing anything but demons, nor is she associated specifically with the process of human dying like the Hindu god Yama, who really is the god of death. It is true that both Kali and Shiva are said to inhabit cremation grounds, and devotees often go to these places to meditate. This is not to worship death, but rather it is to overcome the I am the body idea by reinforcing the awareness that the body is a temporary condition. Shiva and Kali are said to inhabit these places because it is our attachment to the body that gives rise to the ego. Shiva and Kali grant liberation by removing the illusion of the ego. Thus we are the eternal I am and not the body. This is underscored by the scene of the cremation grounds. Of all the forms of Devi, she is the most compassionate because she provides moksha or liberation to her children. She is the counterpart of Shiva, the destroyer. They are the destroyers of unreality. The ego sees Mother Kali and trembles with fear because the ego sees in her its own eventual demise. A person who is attached to his or her ego will not be receptive to Mother Kali, and she will appear in a fearsome form. A mature soul who engages in spiritual practice to remove the illusion of the ego sees Mother Kali as very sweet, affectionate, and overflowing with incomprehensible love for her children. Iconography of Goddess Kali. Ma Kali wears a garland of skulls and a skirt of dismembered arms because the ego arises out of identification with the body. In truth, we are beings of spirit and not flesh. So, liberation can only proceed when our attachment to the body ends. Thus, the garland and skirt are trophies worn by her to symbolize having liberated her children from attachment to the limited body. She holds a sword and a freshly severed head dripping blood. As the story goes, this represents a great battle in which she destroyed the demon Raktabija. Her black skin represents the womb of the quantum manifest from which all of creation arises and into which all of creation will eventually dissolve. She is depicted as standing on Shiva, who lays beneath her with white skin, in contrast to her black or sometimes dark blue skin. He has a blissful, detached look. Shiva represents pure, formless awareness, Sat Chit Ananda, being consciousness bliss, while she represents form eternally supported by substratum of pure awareness. By not understanding the story behind Mother Kali, it is easy to misinterpret her iconography. Unperturbed, the Devi roared loudly and laughed a frightening, defiant laugh. Again and again, and then her 10 arms rotated alternately, smashing weapons of the demons and hurling them back at her attackers. With great ease, she picked up dozens of demons at once, killing them with her sword. Some demons she did not even bother to pick up. She stupefied them with the tremendous noise of her bell and then crushed them with her mace. The demon Rakta Bija gave the fierce mother goddess a fair amount of trouble. He possessed a special magical power which allowed him to create new demons from his own blood. Whenever the goddess wounded him, each drop of blood that spilled to the ground sprouted another demon full of strength and brutality. But in the end, the mother outwitted him. She picked up Rakta Bija and lifted him high into the air to avoid spilling his blood on the ground, and then, gnashing his between her teeth, she drank his blood and swallowed him whole. Other demons too tried to confuse the goddess with their magical powers. Whenever they were threatened by the Devi, they changed their form and color. But who can escape the Great Mother? Bound by her nose and spitting blood, these demons were soon caught by the Devi, and like a child pulling a toy train, she dragged them over the battlefield where scores of demons already lay split into two by the sharp slashes of her sword. Snatching some elephants with one hand, the Devi flung them into her mouth, and together with the demon drivers, she furiously ground them up with her teeth. She seized one demon by the hair and another by the neck. Once one she crushed by the weight of her foot, and another she crushed with her body. The mother terrible presence filled even the sky. Black clouds gathered, and terrifying lightning lit up the ghastly shapes on the ground. There were demons without arms, without legs, and demons torn asunder in the middle of their trunks. When Mahisasura, the king of the demons, saw his army devastated by the blows of the terrible mother goddess, his fury knew no bounds. He expanded his body to take on the fierce shape of a giant buffalo. Intoxicated with his own strength and valor, he roared and charged toward the Devi. Roar, roar, O fool, shouted the goddess. Roar for a moment. When you are slain by me, the goddess will soon roar in this very place. The earth began to tremble under the stomping feet of the goddess. Mahisasura fought with all his might but could not conquer the Devi. So he appealed to her sense of justice, complaining that she fought in an unfair way. The Devi, he claimed, received help from so many fierce goddesses, Ma Durga, Kali, Chamunda, Ambika, and others, and he, Mahisasura, had to fight all by himself. I am all alone in the world here, thundered the Devi. Who else is there beside me? See, O vile one, these goddesses are but my different powers, which again enter into my own self. I stand alone, don't back off, defend yourself. The savage fight continued, and the great demon attacked the mother goddess with showers of arrows. He heard discusses swinging his clubs and mace to no avail. The Devi killed him with her spear, releasing the soul from its evil natured body and mind. Dust clouds carried the stench of singed skin and rotting flesh to the blood-red horizon. The demons had been killed, and their blood flowed, accumulating here and there in small pools around the carcasses of elephants and horses. Only some headless torsos of demons who refused to give up life still fought the Devi. The battle shrieks had died, and the only cries now were those of jackals and hyenas. There was nothing left to kill but the blood intoxicated mother in the form of Kali continued the carnage, smashing and slashing dead demons all over again. The gods who had begun to celebrate victory became filled with fear. Who was going to stop her? There was only one who could, Shiva, the great god. Be smeared with ashes, the third god of the Hindu trinity went to the battlefield and lay down motionless among the corpses, while the rest of the gods watched from a safe distance. The intoxicated Kali staggered across corpse until suddenly she found herself standing on top of a beautiful male body, nude and besmeared with white ashes. Awed, she stood still for a moment, looked down at him, and saw straight into the eyes of her husband Shiva. When she realized that she was touching her divine husband with her feet, an unthinkable, disrespectful act for a Hindu wife, Kali stretched out her tongue in shame, and the destruction came to an end. The meaning of the story of Kali and Mahisasura. For those who have grappled with their own ego, the personification of the demons in this story is striking. When the demons first glimpsed the mother, they charge. The darkness sees the light and does not comprehend it. The ego attacks that which does not understand or that which threatens it. The demon, with the magical power of sprouting a new demon each time a drop of its blood reaches the ground, is reminiscent of spiritual pride. This is the power of the ego to inflate itself over perceived success in making spiritual progress. Thus, spiritual progress is next to impossible as long as spiritual pride keeps sprouting a new demon each time the ego is blessed by some spiritual insight or experience. The ego whispers in our ear, "See what a great spiritual aspirant you are." Other demons charged form when threatened by the Devi. The ego shifts its position with astounding cunning by the power of rationalization. Mahisasura, the demon king, was intoxicated with his strength and valor and changed into a buffalo. The ego is always consumed with self importance. When he saw that he was not winning, he tried to fool the mother with self pity and claimed that her many forms were an unfair advantage. The mother saw through the ploy and destroyed his self pity with the truth, stating that there was only one mother. The ego was destroyed, and the soul found liberation in her quick and deadly spear of compassion. Kalima, the Divine Mother, appears fearsome. Kalima, Goddess, the Divine Mother, the Dark Mother, the Terrible Mother. She is the Hindu goddess of time, creation, preservation, and destruction. As fearsome as she may appear, she is the most compassionate goddess of them all. She rides a lion, she wears a garland of severed heads and a skirt of dismembered arms or nothing at all. Her dark, disheveled hair flows freely, her eyes are red with intoxication and rage, her red tongue sticks out under sharp white fangs that shine against blue-black skin. Her many hands carry a sword, a trident, a severed head, dripping fresh blood, and a kapala or skull cup catching the blood. She is often accompanied by serpents and a jackal. She dances in graveyards. At first glance and without understanding, Kalima may appear more like a demon and less like a loving goddess, but she is simply misunderstood. She does not fit into neatly packed boxes of good and evil. In truth, she transcends both. Kalima goddess is willing and able to do the necessary dark deeds that others are not capable. She is willing to destroy the ego. She happily kills demons and laps up their blood. Her love is so fierce that she destroys evil in order to grant liberation. She destroys our attachment to the temporary body and reminds us to enjoy the beauty of life because death is certainly coming. Her garland of severed heads represents her children who she has liberated from the illusion of the ego. Kalima shows us that this body is temporary and reminds us not to become too attached to it. Her garland is either shown with 108 or 51 heads. The number 108 is auspicious in Hinduism. It represents the wholeness of existence as well as the earth, moon, and sun. The number 51 represents the 51 characters of the Sanskrit language, the origin of sound. Kali is often considered the mother of language and the mother of all mantras. Kali's skirt is made of dismembered human arms which represents action. All actions, karma, go to Kalima goddess. At death, all souls merge with Kalima and then are reborn again with their karma restored. This is also a reminder to not become attached to the fruits of your actions as they do not belong to you. Kalima appears naked or dressed in only the garland of heads and skirt of arms because she is infinite and pure. She is sometimes called Digambari, meaning clad in space, because no finite clothing can clothe her infinite form. She is so pure that she is beyond the need for clothing, as this is only Maya or illusion. Her skin is dark black, often shown as dark blue, because she is limitless, all pervading, and transcendent. She is Nirguna Brahma, meaning the highest Brahma, the ultimate reality in its greatest unmanifest state. Embrace the knowledge. She embodies the gunas or the three qualities of Prakriti or nature. Her white teeth represent sattva, goodness and purity. She uses her sattvic nature to create life. Her tongue is red, which represents rajas, passion or activity. She uses her rajasic nature to preserve life. Her eyes are red with rage and intoxication, which represents tamas, ignorance or inertia. She destroys with tamas. In her left hand, Kalima goddess carries a sword of knowledge to destroy ignorance, and severed heads represents liberation from the ego or attached to the body. Kali's two right hands are shown in Abhay Mudra, fearlessness, and Varda Mudra, a blessing. She is most popularly depicted with four arms, though sometimes with 10. Her 10 arms form is called Mahakali, and her 10 arms are depicted holding men different ritualistic objects and weapons, each of which represents the power of one of the devas. This implies that Mahakali is responsible for the powers of each of these. Kalima, goddess, is the consort of Shiva, the destroyer and the transformer. The two inhabit cremation grounds, reminding us that body is a temporary condition. Kalima, goddess, is often seen dancing on Shiva as he lies still and unperturbed beneath her. Shiva may be the destroyer, but it is Shiva that must calm Kalima down when she becomes too violent. And Kalima actively provokes Shiva's destructive tendencies. They are the destroyers of illusion. By destroying the ego and the illusion of duality, they grant moksha or liberation. Kalima is often called upon in battle. One of the most well-known stories where Kalima appears is the battle against the demon Raktabija. In this battle, Raktabija is undefeated because of his ability to produce a clone of himself for every drop of his blood that touches the ground. The goddess Durga calls upon Kalima to defeat the demon and his countless clones. Kalima, goddess, defeats him by drinking every last drop of his blood so that he can no longer replicate himself, and she eats each of the demon's clones.